Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Maddie, and today I am actually doing a really fun collaboration video with my sister, Catie from the Huckleberry Nest. We will be sharing with you guys some DIY tutorial homemade Christmas gifts. Now I'm going to share a few ideas, but then I actually am going to share an in-depth tutorial on one of the ideas, which I will share at the end of this video. But before we get started on that, number one, make sure you go over after this video and subscribe to her channel. She's so sweet. She runs a bath bomb business. Well, she does more than bath bombs now. Originally, it started as a bath bomb business, and she has just grown it from the ground up over the last 2-ish years. She goes to all sorts of markets. She makes some really cool bath bombs. So I will link her website down below as well as her YouTube channel. But yeah, make sure to check her out because she is just a very hardworking mama, and I love to see her channel supported. So and also, if you're looking for a really cool small shop to shop from for Christmas, she is perfect for that. So, number two, before we jump into the tutorial and the gift ideas, I am actually going to make kind of the theme of this video a frugal Christmas. How to just take the stress out of the holidays. It's something I used to do. I used to stress. I used to want to spend a lot of money on gifts for people, and I truly love giving the gifts. But now I have just found there's so much more meaning in Christmas. I believe that the reason for the season is Jesus, that he was born. Obviously, probably wasn't born December 25th, but we celebrate his birth, the greatest gift God has ever given the world. And making him the focus really steers our values as a family for the season. We really focus on just being together as a family, celebrating Jesus's birth, celebrating all the good things God has given to us, and giving to others as much as we can. So I'm going to start off by giving you guys a few tips on how to have a more frugal Christmas if that is what you are after this year. If you just want to, not spend as much money, maybe you're trying to get out of debt and you used to put Christmas on a credit card. You don't want to do that anymore. I've just found there's so much joy actually in simplicity, and simplicity doesn't mean not doing anything. It just means doing the right things, if that makes sense. So anyway, my first gift, obviously, as a Christian, is focusing on the reason for the season. We're a little bit behind, but at night we try to read a chapter of Luke to our son, who will be 4 in just a few weeks. And it really keeps us grounded, that daily reminder that this is why we celebrate Christmas. And I remind him constantly that it's not about the gifts, it's not about the cookies, it's not about the presents are gifts, okay. It's not about any of that. It's about the gift God gave to us when he sent his son, Jesus Christ, into the world. And so we try to keep that as the focus because we've found, like I said before, it really does guide our steps as far as what we are focusing on this season. So that is my first tip, is just really reminding yourselves why, what are you celebrating? Why are you doing it? And ultimately, if you are a Christian, does your attitude of Christmas bring glory to God? Because that was definitely a kind of reality check for me. Okay, so tip number 2 is less gifts. I mean, there it is. Especially if you have a large family to buy for. My extended family, so not extended, but my mom, dad, and siblings and I, and all of their, spouses, we draw names. So that might be something to suggest if you are just feeling totally overwhelmed with buying gifts for everyone in your family, is maybe suggest that your family draw names, and then you wind up with one person to buy for the whole side of the family, and everybody still gets a gift. And our kids do that too. So there is 6 grandkids total, and we put all their names in a hat. They each picked one, or we picked one for the little kids. So, you know, my son is buying for one of his cousins, my daughter's buying for one of the other cousins. And it just works out really well because you still get to give the gifts to people. You get to get creative when you figure out who you're getting, but you're not stressed about buying every single person a gift. And same goes with your family. Maybe really try and focus on finding something or making something that you know they'll really love, or, you know, go to the thrift store. That's another frugal tip I'll share in a minute. But just try to find a couple things that you know they'll really enjoy instead of trying to fill under the tree with as many things as possible. Because to be completely honest, looking back, I don't really remember. I remember a few of the things I got for Christmas, but I remember things we did. I remember traditions, and that's what we're trying to focus on for our family is, are we making lasting memories? Because our son he's 3. He's not going to look back and remember anything he got this year. He is going to remember the cookies we baked. He's going to remember riding around and dropping them off. He's going to remember listening to Christmas music, making homemade decorations, things like that. He's going to remember. He won't remember what we got him. So just really focusing on taking the stress off of the monetary aspect of Christmas and focusing on those traditions. Tip number 3 is do something special every day in December. And this is going to make you get creative. This is going to make you realize there are so many things that you can do with your kids that don't cost money. You don't have to go take the, you know, Polar Express jammy ride. I mean, if that's a train ride, I don't know if they have those near you, but I think kind of near us they have that where you know, the kids go on the Polar Express train ride, they go to see Santa, all that. That's great, and those are super fun things to do, but they're expensive. And I think when we think of Christmas, you know, activities for our kids, we think of things like that. Parades, which parades are fun and free, so that's an idea. But we think of the big grand things, the drive-through Christmas lights at the zoo, things like that. They're just not necessary. You can bake some cookies at home, get some hot chocolate from home, put your kids in their Christmas jammies and drive around and look at Christmas lights. We have done that so many times already, and it's only December 7th. And it has just felt like we are really making the most of the season, and it doesn't cost us a dime except, you know, what it costs us to make the cookies and the gas to drive around, which isn't much. So just keep things like that in mind. You could do a craft with your kids. We dehydrated orange slices, and I made ornaments, and then we hung them on the tree today. Yesterday we baked cookies, and one thing that my son we decided to do this year was he made a list of everybody he wants to deliver Christmas cookies to, and then he is going to slowly check them off. So last night we went to the first person on his list, and he, you know, went in his jammies up to the door and gave them the cookies, and we gave him a jar of homemade cranberry sauce that I did yesterday. And it was just, it's so fun for him. It's sweet, and it gives him a giving spirit already at a young age. So just things like that. Christmas does not have to be this big production. It can be little things every day that add up to really cool traditions and memories for your kids. Just keep that in mind. Maybe try to think of some things. Make a paper chain to hang up. I mean, so simple things that take maybe 20 or 30 minutes. I know it can feel overwhelming when there's a long to-do list of things to do during the day, but December is the time to really focus on what is most important to you, and that is obviously our family. So everything else can wait, but we can stop and take the time to make memories right now with our kiddos. Tip number 4 is homemade decorations, which I kind of already mentioned with the orange slices. My son just thought that was the coolest thing ever. He helped me put all the orange slices in the dehydrator, which you can use an oven if you don't have a dehydrator. I just figured I'd put mine to use. He helped me put them all on there. We watched them through the window. You know, he knew it was going to take a day or so for them to fully dehydrate. Last night I sat in bed and read a book and punched holes in them and strung the string. And then today we had the bowl of them. We're actually probably going to make more because it went faster than I thought. But homemade paper chains, homemade orange slices, homemade, just, there's so many things, like, you know, snowflakes, crafts from your kids. There are so many things that just number one, your house is going to feel like a Hallmark movie. It's going to feel so cozy and just personal and beautiful. Something that just you can't get at Home Goods. And I say that from a Home Goods junkie, a Marshall's junkie, a TJ Maxx junkie. But I mean, we recently got a new TJ Maxx near us, and I went in and I mean, the decorations are nice, but they're gonna break. They're cheap, and they're cheaply made, and they're expensive, and there's no memory attached to carting in a big bag full of, you know, stuff you bought. Nothing wrong with Target or TJ Maxx, things like that. They have some really cute decor. I'm not knocking them, but think about what you can make that's going to give your home that extra touch, because anybody can go to Target or to Marshall's and get home decor, the same thing you bought. But not everyone is going to have homemade, you know, decorations hanging around their house that had so much love poured into them by their kids and memories were made, thrifted decor that you've had forever. Just really taking out the consumerism aspect of Christmas that is pushed on us so hard and focusing on what we can do and make beautiful right where we are. So I think homemade, I mean, personally me, I would take homemade paper chains all over my house, cut out snowflakes, orange slices. I think it gives it just a really rustic, like old world, Little House on the Prairie feeling. That's just, I mean, I don't have paper chains in Little House on the Prairie, but you know what I mean. It just gives it such a homey feeling that just makes you want to curl up and stay a while. So that's just another tip I have to really make things feel extra special for Christmas. And I think your kids will really like it, because everyone who comes over, they'll want to point out, you know, the things they made, and it's fun little memory for them. So tip number, is this 5? I don't even remember, maybe 5. Is, I kind of touched on this with the left gifts, but homemade gifts. I will share a few ideas here in just a little bit, but there are so many things you can make from home for really cheap, and they're so unique and beautiful. I made handmade snow globes for my family one year, and I will actually take a clip when I go. I didn't make myself one, and I should have, so maybe I'll make myself one this year. But I made handmade snow globes for my family a few years ago. It had to have been 4 or 5 years now. And they all still have them. My mom leaves hers out year round. They turned out so well, and you're not gonna find anything like that at the store. I love snow globes. We have like a whole collection of them, and we get them all at thrift stores and things like that. We don't go out and buy like a new one every year. We just pick them up when we see them. And having a handmade snow globe like that, it just adds such charm, and people are really going to appreciate getting that. And if you make it well, it'll last for a really long time. All of my family still, I'm surprised they're not like leaking and things like that by now. But they love them, and you can do anything. You can figure out, you know, what your skill is and make something. I would love if someone gave me a basket full of home canned, you know, jams and produce and a handmade apron and a homemade snow globe. Like, I would just be delighted. That would be like the best gift ever to me. So you would be surprised how many people would love to receive something from you that you spent so much time and love on, even if it didn't cost you anything. I guarantee you they would love it. So maybe think about that. I know we're kind of inching towards Christmas now, but if you have someone who you're just racking your brain and you cannot think of what to get them, think about what you could make them, what you could, you know, get creative with, and figure out how to really touch their heart without even spending any money. So I challenge you, if you still have someone left on your list, make them something. Figure out what they would like and make them something really special. So that's your challenge for this video. Tip number 6, I think we're on. This is kind of like different. I don't know that I've really seen a lot of tips like this, but if you are on social media and you follow a bunch of influencers who are pushing a lot of products this time of year, you know, and these people, I'm sure they genuinely like them. There's a big time influencer that I really just enjoy following. She's very sweet, and I think she's genuinely passionate about the things she shares, but I don't know that our values are the same. I, you know, would just be delighted to get a homemade Christmas gift basket and this just, it's a high consumerism point of view on Christmas. If you are following people like that and you feel influenced to buy things that you would never even, I mean, I had this like skincare gift, I don't even know what it was, gift bundle in a cart. And I never even heard of them because I was following this person. So I decided to unfollow anybody that does not, you know, not to their own fault, but anybody who influences me to overspend or to feel less than because I'm not doing the grand things that they're doing or buying the grand gifts or anything like that. I just unfollow, because then it's out of sight, it's out of mind, and you will have so much peace. I mean, I did a whole purge on my social media years ago, or probably about a year ago. And I think I follow like 60 people on Instagram now, because I was just tired of being influenced by what I didn't have, you know, influence, or feeling like I was missing out on something when truly my life is so amazing as it is. And actually, this is a good segue because I wanted to squeeze this quote in somewhere. I am reading a book right now, and I'm not going to say what the book is because apparently it's a controversial one. But in the book, she said, last night I was reading and it just totally struck a chord with me. She said, discontentment is not a product of circumstances, but a state of the soul. And I was just like, wow, that is so me. That is so me. I am always wishing for more. You know, when we get a dairy cow, things will be, you know, better. When we are able to add on to our house, like, I mean, these are silly things, but you know what I mean? Like, if you are that kind of person, as I am, who is always waiting for something more to come along, and that's going to be what finally satisfies you, we are looking at life so wrong. It totally shifted my mindset, because I suddenly realized if my life stays the same forever and I never buy anything fancy, new, I never hit those goals, those, you know, things that will make me happier, I will still have a great life. And when I realized that, it just totally made me think, wow, I'm not missing out on anything. I have an amazing life. I have an amazing husband. I have amazing kids. I'm so blessed to live where I live. And even if you don't live your dream place, you are lucky. You are blessed. You're not lucky. You are blessed. But if we take time now and steward what we have well and pour our energy into that, I think we will wind up feeling so much more fulfilled, so much happier than if we are constantly waiting for something to make us happy. So I just wanted to share that quote because it really made me realize, wow, I'm looking at things all wrong. I am so blessed already. So I hope that that quote was encouraging to you. I did want to squeeze that in somewhere, and I'd forgotten about it until that moment. So I think that's all my tips. That was 6 tips. I feel like those are things that I've really been trying to implement in our home this year. We really have not spent much on Christmas, to be completely honest. We bought a live tree, which was like something it was kind of a splurge because trees are really expensive now. And this thing is mean. It's a blue spruce. We normally get Fraser firs, and this is pokey. So if you don't want a tree to stab you to death, I wouldn't suggest a blue spruce. But all of our son and daughter's gifts pretty much came from the thrift store. I got my daughter 2 gifts at like Ollie's Bargain Outlet. All my son's stuff came from the thrift store. We got him an RC car, a whole case of the Hot Wheels case full of cars. Gosh, what else did we get him? I got him off of Mercari a set of Paw Patrol pajamas with the tags still on them. I found a Paw Patrol suitcase at Goodwill. Everything has come from either our local church thrift store or Goodwill, except the pajamas that came off Mercari. And I truly don't think on everything he's getting, we've spent more than $30. And he is going to be over the moon on Christmas. I already know. He's going to be so excited about everything he's getting. Plus, he has grandparents who are going to spoil him. He has, you know, he's going to get gifts from his cousin. He is just, and he's making memories with us. He doesn't need more stuff. I honestly should go and purge his room before Christmas. He has plenty of toys. And so I'm trying to take the pressure off of myself financially to show up and have this big to-do. And I hope that you guys will be encouraged by some of these tips too, and to not feel like you have to produce this big affair for Christmas, and you can just focus on what really matters, which is Christ and your family and giving, and that you won't feel like you have to just go all out and spend money you don't have. So anyway, I am going to wrap up this portion of the video and we are going to jump into the handmade homemade gift ideas. Okay, so next I want to share with you guys the 3 Christmas gift ideas that I have for you, the homemade Christmas gifts that I think people would really enjoy receiving. At least I know I would. And they're things I've given before, things I'm giving this year again to people. So the first 2 are just ideas. I'll share some like footage of the things that, you know, I've made and stuff that I'm going to mention. But the last one is actually a tutorial. So if you're hanging around for the tutorial, I'm going to share that one last. But number 1 is the snow globe that I mentioned earlier. This is something that is just, I feel like, so unique and special. And I will, you know, share some clips of the snow globes I made in the past. I probably will make one again for someone this year. They're so simple. All you really need is some like figurines, and you glue them to the top of the mason jar lid. So you need like a mason jar and then some little Christmas trees, you know, like the village stuff you can get. You glue it to the top of the mason jar flat, the circular part, and you hot glue it to that. And then you fill up your jar, your mason jar, with distilled water, and you add glycerin and glitter to it. And then once the, you know, figurines are dried, you put it on, you screw the band on, and that is literally it. I spray painted my lids like a pretty red color, and I tied twine around the neck of the jar, and that's it. Like, and then they can just shake it up. The glitter goes all around. It's beautiful. It's cheap, and it's just so unique and special. I think it's a great gift to give someone. So idea number 2 is like homemade or home canned goods. We are going to be giving a lot of homemade caramel corn. Don't come for me if you say that differently than me. But I have a super simple recipe out of the Prairie Homestead cookbook that we made last year. So we're gonna make a ton of that. We're making a ton of cookies. I'm also giving away, so yesterday I spent a lot of the day making cranberry sauce because cranberries went on sale at Costco for $1.97 for a 2-pound bag. So I had my mom pick me up 5 bags, and I made a ton of cranberry sauce yesterday. I just canned it all up. It was like 40 cups of cranberries. It wound up making about 20 jars, and I'm going to give a lot of it away. I mean, I'll keep it for us too because we like cranberry sauce, and you can use it in all sorts of stuff. I plan to use it in like smoothies and things like that. But it's just a great holiday themed gift to give to people. I mean, I would like to get homemade, you know, home canned stuff like this. So anything that you can make at home as far as like food and things like that, I just think it's a really neat way to share something with someone, because when they go to eat the item down the road, especially if it is something preserved like this, they're going to think about you and think about the gift you gave them, and then they might come back and ask you for more the next year. So that is my second gift idea. Something simple and creative like that, I think just people get really excited about. And then idea number 3 is I make hand-poured soy candles. I've made them for a while. I've actually gotten pretty decent at them, but it took me a while to figure out how to make them well. So I am going to share with you guys a full tutorial on how to make those. I think these are just so fun because you can totally customize them. And hand-poured candles like this, soy candles that aren't paraffin and like super toxic, are so expensive. I paid $15 for a small one at a coffee shop not too long ago because I really wanted a fall scented candle, and they are so expensive. So you can make these for so cheap. I buy a 10-pound bag of wax off of Amazon, and it lasts me forever. I calculated that I can make about 22 candles of my average size candle, which takes about 200 grams of wax. I'll show you all this in the video, in the tutorial, but you can make a lot, and I think it wound up being like $1.60 something for the wax per candle. And what I love about the candles is you can totally customize them. You can find really unique jars. So this year, actually, I've already made a few for some people in my life. I had this like antique ball jar, and I just made the candle in this. I mean, and it's easy enough to pop the wax out when they're done with it. They can put it in the freezer and pop the wax out and reuse the jar, but it smells so stinging good, and it's so beautiful. And if you were to buy a candle like this in a jar like this, you would be paying like $20-25 for a candle. So you can really find really unique jars and things, pour the candle into them, and it makes such a cool gift, and it's cheap. So anyway, let's get into the tutorial so you guys can also make your own beautiful candles. And don't forget at the end of this video to head on over to my sister's channel and check out her tutorial on homemade shower steamers, because that is what she is sharing. So we are partnering in that. She is sharing homemade shower steamers. I am sharing a tutorial on homemade candles. And so between the two of us, you could have a really awesome gift for like your mother or mother-in-law or something like that. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Let's check out the video, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas season. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is pick out what jar you want and weigh the jar empty on a food scale. You'll zero the jar and fill the jar up with water and then place it back on the food scale, and this will tell you how much liquid you need inside the jar. Now, if you are going to be using a fragrance with this, I will link a video down below on how to figure out how to balance the volume of wax and fragrance. But if you're just using plain wax, you would just measure out the same amount of grams that it said on the jar when you weighed it with water, put it in like a glass measuring cup or a metal pitcher like this inside boiling water and melt it until it's heated to almost 200 degrees, probably about 185 or so. Once it is that temperature, you'll remove it from the heat, and this is when you would mix in your fragrance. This helps really capture the fragrance inside the wax when you mix it in when it's really hot like this. So you would go ahead and mix in your fragrance, give it a good stir, and then you let it cool on the until it cools down just a bit. And while you're waiting on it to cool, to pour it, because waiting for it to cool before you pour will help with cracking. You don't want to pour when the wax is really hot. You'll go ahead and get your jars ready. You can really use any jar you want. I use wick stickers. I've just found they've been a really good investment. Hot glue is just a mess if you try to do that, because once the hot wax comes in, it'll melt your hot glue even if it's dried. So I use the wick stickers. I grab the wicks that I'm using. I will link the products down below that I use to make these. Again, you get enough to last you a really long time between the wax and the wicks and all that. If the jar is wider, I will add a second wick and just kind of measure them equal distance apart and center them in the mouth of the jar. This Christmassy looking jar, I actually should have added 2 wicks to this one. It was a little too wide and it didn't melt evenly down, but usually a standard half pint mason jar is what I use, and 1 wick works really well for that. So there's my little helper. He needed to make his cameo. He begged me to let him be in the video, and gosh, who can resist that face? So next I will use my wick clips to secure my wicks. I have these again because I've just made candles for a really long time, but you can use anything to kind of prop the wicks up in the center so when the wax cools, it holds them up straight. So you can use pencils, clothespins if the mouth of the jar is small enough to balance that on top, since they are a little bit smaller. So yeah, you can pretty much use just about anything to hold these in place. However, if you have these by chance lying around, you're probably not watching this tutorial because you already know how to make candles, but these are a good investment if you're going to be using or making homemade candles in the future. Once the wax has cooled down to at least 145 degrees, I like to let it cool as low as possible. I go ahead and pour my candles. So I kind of pour less than I think I might need at first, just in case I kind of miscalculated. I want to make sure I have enough if I'm doing multiple candles. So I just fill it up to about where I would want it and try not to make a huge mess. You may get some dribbles, especially if you're using a pitcher that doesn't have a big spout like this one. And you just go along and fill up your jars. And then as you need more, you can go back and kind of top them off, add more to each one like I wound up doing here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a very simple DIY. I know I kind of talked fast through these because my clips were short and I needed to get the information in. But I will, like I said, link that video down below on how to calculate if you're using a fragrance with the wax to make sure you don't wind up with too much wax or anything like that. It's not the end of the world if you do, but we don't like to waste, right? So I just clean up my jars while the wax is still a little bit hot and easier to clean up. And that's it. Then you just leave them on the counter and you wait for them to cool until the next day. It's recommended for soy wax to let them cool at least 24 hours or so. I like to let mine cool as long as possible just because I feel like it firms up the wax before burning them. So some of these will not get burned for a while because I'm giving them as Christmas gifts. But after 24 hours, you can go ahead and trim the wicks down. I have a wick trimmer tool, but you can use scissors or anything like that just to trim the wick down to about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. If you have a lid on the vessel you're using for the candle, you want to make sure that it's trimmed down enough to where it doesn't bump into the lid once you have it on. But yeah, it's really that simple. You trim them up and then you can save them for a gift or burn them right away for yourself if you want, and enjoy a really simple, homemade, beautiful candle. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I really appreciate you coming along with us as my sister and I share our handmade gift ideas. Don't forget to check out her channel. I will link it down below, the Huckleberry Nest, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas.